Hello from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. I'm Advocate Sports columnist Scott Rappley with our LSU football beat writer Brooks Cabina. This is our SEC Championship video report sponsored by Hancock Whitney Bank. We just had the press conferences with the two head coaches, Ed Orgeron and Georgia's Kirby Smart, and a little something from SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey. Brooks, what did you take from the press conference? What stood out to you today?
Well, it seemed like both head coaches are really prepared for this, came in with some really good anecdotes. I mean, they're all very excited to be here. And, you know, what Ed Orgeron said, which was interesting, is that the team actually traveled yesterday to get here because Ed said that he had to be here for this press conference. Normally the team travels on a Friday, but he didn't want to be without the team. He wanted them to be with him, so they took off yesterday. He has his usual phrase, one team, one heartbeat, and they all came together yesterday. So, you know, there's been a whole kind of focus for LSU here, and Ed Orgeron said a little bit about Joe Burrow. He said his parents were trying to call him last night. His phone was broken, and they looked into fixing it. He said, "No, I don't need a phone. You know, I've got a game to play this weekend." So, you know, there's a lot of kind of behind the scenes things already talking about this team that's going to start practicing here in a few hours.
Kirby Smart, of course, was very complimentary about LSU. Brooks asked him about in-game adjustment. He said, they start out pretty well too. They score a lot of points in the first quarter, which is true. LSU set a record for points scored this season. Asked Kirby too about his days. He got his coaching start at LSU as an assistant under Nick Saban, and he said it was an awakening. I think it was his actual comment for working for Nick, and of course he went on to work for him at Alabama, and now is the head coach here at Georgia. We had a little bit with, like I said, with Commissioner Greg Sankey. He talked about the atmosphere that LSU brings. Having LSU in the championship game for the first time in 8 years.
Right. I mean, they're going to be here. It's he didn't like to put favorites on any team, but he would put back to his seeing LSU in it before, and he knows that the Hyatt Hotel tonight is going to be pretty wild.
Into the late hours.
Into the late hours. They're pretty special especially late at night. So he gets it.
Not too many issues to tie up with these two teams. Most LSU's players that we've said in earlier videos have been very healthy, I think, leading up to this game. Georgia's got the first half suspension of one of their best wide receivers, George Pickens, who Ed talked about recruiting before he went to Georgia. And then there was a question about DeAndre Swift, the Georgia running back. His shoulder has been an issue since the Georgia Tech game last week.
Yeah, and Ed Orgeron said that they're preparing for him to play, a lot like how Tua Tagovailoa was going in with the ankle surgery in the LSU game, and Tua did in fact play. You know, Kirby Smart mentioned it as well. He said that he's practicing and that he looks forward for him to play. So I would expect in a crucial game like this, where Georgia needs everyone to win this game to get into the college football playoff, I'd expect that Swift plays in some capacity, and he's a big part of their run game. Ed Orgeron said that he's one of the better running backs that does the outside zone scheme very well, which requires patience and ability to cut into tight lanes, and Swift did that last year. We saw that too with him and Holyfield, who's now gone, but Swift has been a very good back for them so far this year.
All right, Brooks, let's get down to it. The game is approaching. What's your prediction for the outcome Saturday here in Atlanta?
Well, it's already been published, so I got to stick to it.
That's
I got LSU winning 27-22 over Georgia. I do think that their defense plays well in the red zone. I think LSU moves the ball pretty well between the 20s, but Georgia's done so well there. Their run defense has only given up one touchdown all year on the ground, and it's been to a quarterback. So, you know, I think Georgia's defense keeps it pretty close, and their offense, I keep comparing it a little bit to the Auburn game. Auburn was able to confuse LSU's offense for a little time with the defense that they hadn't seen. And I think Georgia does have the capability of confusing them for a little while, and that their offense is good enough to kind of make the gap there for a little bit. And I think LSU plays them tight, but eventually gets the win and goes to the college football playoff for the first time in program history.
I've got LSU winning by a little wider margin. I think 31-18. I like predicting a little funny, score number like you did. Georgia's defense is excellent, allowing one touchdown per game. They have not seen an offense anything like LSU's. The best offense they played is ranked 44th in the country. That was Arkansas State. Meanwhile, LSU's played 3 top 20 defenses. Florida, Auburn, and Alabama had over 500 yards against them every time. Of course, over 40 points against Alabama and Georgia. I think LSU will find a way to get it done. It won't be easy. It won't be the flow that we see from LSU's offense. They'll have to be good in the special teams, sound with the punting game. But I see LSU, if they can avoid a glut of turnovers, winning this game and winning their first SEC title in 8 years, and moving on, as you said, to the playoff, maybe back here late December for the Peach Bowl. So reporting from Atlanta, I'm Scott. This is Brooks. This has been our SEC Championship video report, sponsored by Hancock Whitney Bank.